Law enforcement training is a focal point for federal and state lawmakers these days. In Rochester, officers have a unique way of handling de-escalation incidents, and today allowed our Rachel Mills to see them in action.
RPD is one of few police departments to have a designated space for simulating real-life scenarios and interactions. They call it the Sim House, and it's designed to feel like a real house or restaurant or whatever the situation calls for.
The scenarios we're going to use today are actual Rochester Police Department calls that have happened in the recent past.
RPD says they are trying to prevent deadly force encounters, like what happened between Chauvin and George Floyd.
When resistance ends, excessive force begins, meaning you use as much force as you need. As soon as that resistance is over, you stop, because anything beyond that is excessive.
Most of the role-play scenarios involve how to handle threats of suicide. RPD interns take on the role of actors for these scenarios.
What are you guys going to do about it? You think you're going to keep me from killing myself?
But what are the officers actually trained to do?
Big thing that they really stress here is sanctity of life, right? Every life is sacred. We're doing what we can to make sure everybody is going home.
Officer in training Garrison Lenz says they are also trained on the various resources available to RPD, and more generally, the goal of de-escalation, which is to slow things down.
So with the de-escalation, we're using other tactics like communication, or we're trying to use all of the resources that we have available so that we don't have to go to those more lethal, more dangerous options.
Hey Dan, can I talk to you, man?
But Lieutenant Paul Gronholz says de-escalation only goes so far.
Officers shall de-escalate when feasible, but it's important for people to remember that de-escalation is not going to work 100% of the time. Officers may eventually have to use force. We train that too.
De-escalation training is mandatory in Minnesota, and officers have to refresh this training frequently. In Rochester, Rachel Mills, ABC 6 News.